Welcome to my channel. This is Goldenrod Craft Co, formerly Peppermint Penguin. You may have seen the name change. If you have and were confused, this is why. So in a previous video, I briefly mentioned that I am opening my own brick and mortar craft store. It is coming to the east side of Madison, hopefully later this year or early next year. And this video, I'm going to do what I promised, which was to share some of the behind the scenes of starting and running a brick and mortar craft business. So this is part one. I am in not a corner of my craft room, my entire craft room. If you've been on this channel, I've shared about my previous craft spaces. I share about cleaning and organizing your craft space. And if you've seen the level of disorganization, you may be wondering, who is this girl and what makes her think she can run a brick and mortar? Anyway, whether you're just a crafter who's interested in the behind the scenes, or you're a business owner or prospective business owner who has a lot of questions like I did, I am hoping that this video will be helpful and useful and enjoyable for you. If you want to see more behind the scenes of the getting ready to open a fabric and craft shop and the running of that fabric and craft shop, please like and subscribe so that you can see more of these and to help me towards my goal. Also, if you like this pillow, at the end, I'll share more about the pattern for this. I'm not selling anything, it's a free pattern, but I'll tell you about it at the end of the video. I am starting a brick and mortar fabric store. It is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, for sure. I am a little discouraged at this moment, actually. I'm making this video because I'm waiting on other things, and yeah, maybe I'll go into that more in a different video. This is not all sunshine and roses, and the internet makes it look like it goes really fast and is really exciting and all this, but there is so much behind the scenes. To start things off, a little bit about myself and what in the world makes me think I can run a brick and mortar. A little bit of audacity for one thing, but I did grow up doing a lot of crafting on my own. My mom taught me how to sew when I was little. I didn't enjoy it, to be honest. I felt really frustrated by it. I actually took up scrapbooking. That was like my gateway drug, if you will, into the world of crafting. Was scrapbooking was like when I was really getting serious about crafting in general. A lot of mixed media stuff, a lot of paper. That was when scrapbooking was kind of at its height too. I also got into photography from that, ended up starting a photography business after college. With that, I also did some sewing in high school. So I did start making some of my own clothes. Most of them were hideous, but I did get some good introductory experience into making apparel. And after college, I graduated with an interior design degree. I ended up not doing interior design. I ended up starting a photography business in 2015 and doing that as a side hustle for many years. I quit my day job in 2021 and tried to take my photography business full time. I was a brand photographer and I loved it. I used my sewing skills to actually create props for my clients. I had business branding clients, like this pillow was one of those things that I used for a custom prop in a brand shoot, which was really, really cool to kind of bring my passions together. And actually, before I tried to take my business full time, I had a quilt pattern business. So I took up quilting, backing up a little bit, I took up quilting in 2015 or so, around the same time I was starting my photography business, but I also took up quilting as a hobby, made a lot of baby quilts for friends, made some bigger quilts. My friend and I started a pattern design business. She designed the pattern math and the cover quilts and things like that, helped with did most of the testing. And then I took those patterns and formatted them, got them ready to be printed, which was a whole ordeal. If you ever try to get a pattern printed, you'll understand why so many designers only offer PDF patterns. It is a project for sure. But we offered both PDF and printed patterns. We launched, I think, 10 patterns that first year, which is a lot of quilt patterns. We got them into a couple of local shops, which was amazing. That was a really cool peek behind the scenes of those shops as well. So we did that. And in year two, we kind of both decided to go different directions. She had some other stuff she was working on, and I was trying to take my photography business full time. So I went and did that, tried that for a couple of years. I was not able to end up taking my business full time. And there are a lot of reasons for that, a lot of things I do different now. But anyway, I ended up closing my business and going to corporate. So I worked in corporate creative, which is a whole nother beast, for about a year. And we moved to Oklahoma for that. So I was working in Oklahoma in corporate art and creative. I learned so much from that job. And then after that, I worked in a small vendor market. If you're not from the South, this may not make any sense. You've probably seen like vintage markets where there's lots of different vendors have like little spaces where they put their stuff. Well, this is more like new and handmade items, but all in like kind of a vendor mall. You don't have to staff it, but you can put your stuff there. So I actually started a little shop called Wallflower Supply Co. in one of those, a little 6x9 booth. I'll post some pictures up probably here. And that was an amazing experience. I learned how to purchase wholesale, how to start a retail business, how to keep track of inventory, mostly by a lot of error. Learned what not to do, but learned how to track my data and use that data to make more purchases. And then I also ended up, very long story, but ended up working at that market in a management type position. And that gave me an actual behind the scenes into brick and mortar, which was really, really cool. It was a very, actually kind of wild, stressful job, but uh, it made me love it. I really loved it. Even no matter how stressful the day was, it was still really satisfying to problem solve in a physical capacity. And I really loved it. Anyway, this story is getting kind of long. All that to say, I've had a lot of different experiences that I'd like to pull together into a brick and mortar. So, um, I'm going to talk about more kind of some of the parts of getting started. And you're probably going to ask at some point, Amy, why aren't you starting with e-commerce or selling fabric online? And I want to address that right up front before I forget, because there's a very specific reason for that. Starting a brick and mortar is very expensive. It's very difficult to do. I do not live in we're back in Wisconsin now. We don't live in Oklahoma anymore. It's a very, very difficult real estate market, both for leasing and purchasing. It's a very expensive place to live. And fabric itself is not a cheap business. It is lower margin than some other types of retail, and it is very expensive to get started. So, Amy, why aren't you starting with online sales? Because that would be like the logical route and the route that a lot of people go. And I will tell you why. It's because I don't want to. And that is actually, I think, something that people don't take into account and something that I in the past have not taken into account when I'm trying new things is, am I going to enjoy this? Is this something that I really adore? And online business is not. I do not enjoy, like I shop online like everybody else, but I don't enjoy the behind the screen side of things. I don't like the entire business being behind the screen. I don't like digital marketing. I don't enjoy it at all. I really need that. And as far as motivation goes, I really need that in-person everyday feedback. I need real life conversations, which is weird because I'm an introvert. So I really thought that I would be more of an online business owner. But the more things I've done, the more life that I've lived, which is the really cool thing about starting a business in your 30s, is that I really need that in-person feedback. And so I'm really excited about brick and mortar. Not interested in getting sidetracked with e-commerce right now, or really ever, unless I absolutely have to, because it's not something that I enjoy. And if it's not something I'm going to enjoy, it's not something I'm going to stick with. And that's really, really important to consider. I also don't like buying fabric online, honestly. I know that a lot of people have to because you don't have a store near you or your store doesn't have what you need. And that's a very real concern and a very real reason why a lot of people order online. However, I don't like personally shopping for fabric online because I can't feel it, I can't touch it, I can't tell exactly, I can't visualize what the weight is like. And it just is not the same. So I really want to create a really magical in-person local experience. And that's the part that I'm really excited about. So we're going to do that. We'll probably list everything online so that people can order online for pickup or possibly delivery. Maybe. We'll see. Still in the works. This was supposed to be more of a behind the scenes. These are just things I've been thinking through as I've been trying to get this business going. Starting with e-commerce would be the more reasonable option, but I'm choosing to move forward with additional audacity and trying to go straight to brick and mortar because I know that e-commerce will sidetrack me and be a dead end for me personally. So if that's not you, great. You have a much more reasonable path to a possible brick and mortar. That's not the way I'm going. So there's lots of different ways to do it. And you've got to decide what's right for you. And I guess that's kind of the moral of this video. I'm going to go into more behind the scenes in the future, but I think that that's something that people don't think about is, especially if it's your first business, that you've got to do something, not just something that you love, like selling fabric, but and talking to people about fabric, but like, what is the venue in which you want to do that, or the way in which you want to do that? Or, I want to have a yarn shop, I want to have an embroidery shop, but like, what does that look like for you? So for me, that looks like a small brick and mortar with space for classrooms, with space for people to come and interact and talk to each other, to look at beautiful fabrics. It means having really beautiful displays that inspire people, both for quilting and for apparel sewing and accessory sewing, home decor sewing, and other crafts. So it is named Goldenrod Craft Co. for a reason. I would love to bring in other genres. As I mentioned, I love scrapbooking and paper crafting. That's never gone away from me. So I would love to incorporate like some junk journaling things and things like that if I can make it work. I know that makes the marketing more difficult, and I don't ever want to be Hobby Lobby or Michaels, right? But probably. But I do want to have some other things in there that I love if it makes sense for the business, because you can't buy inventory just because you love it. And that's something that I learned with Wallflower, and something that I am bringing that knowledge into Goldenrod Craft Co. But anyway, so where we're at right now. So I would love for this to only be 3 months away. I think we're more like 6 to 9 months away. And that's still probably being a little bit optimistic. The wheels turn slowly with this, especially because I am having to look at financing. I'm a normal girl with normal money, and I haven't won the lottery or anything. So this is very much a project and something that is going to be a lot of work and a lot of scrappiness and being creative with some of that. So I am very early on in that process right now, and kind of having to wait on some stuff. So I've started the LLC. I've done my sales tax paperwork probably too early. That was probably too early to do, and I actually need to call the state and talk to them about that. But I've done all that paperwork for better or for worse. I've opened a business bank account, got my federal EIN, which is what you need to submit for distributor and wholesale accounts. So I've opened a distributor account. I've researched. I have written so much. I have drafted my business plan. It is not finalized yet, and it's going to kind of be a living document anyway. But your business plan is essential whether you're looking for financing or not. But for financing, you have to have it. I've done a lot of research. I've looked at a lot of data, not as much data as I would like. It's hard to find for this niche in particular. Data is very difficult to find. So I'm working on that. But the data portion is something I'm working on. You have to have projections, and it's kind of scary because none of these are real numbers. Like, it's just your best guess basically, and it needs to be an educated guess, but it's still yes, and you never know what's going to happen. So that's a little bit scary, but that's what I'm working on right now, is working on that. I started a website and an Instagram. Please go follow. I would really appreciate it, especially if you're a sewist. I would love to get your feedback on what you would like to see in a physical shop. So follow on Instagram if you'd like. But I've started marketing there, started my website, just that I have something up and running, and then working on my strategy for everything else. I'm doing a lot of networking. That's actually one of the number one things I'm doing right now, is networking in person. So going to local events and putting myself out there. This is something that I did not do with my photography business, and I kind of just hid behind my computer, and I think that was a mistake. I know that was a mistake. So it's been so good for me. I don't consider myself a good networker, to be honest. It's not my strong suit. I'm not an extrovert. I struggle in those group environments, but I have learned so much from just attending those. Basically, what I had to do was set aside my expectations for myself and not have any big goals going into those. And I know that's the opposite of most networking advice that you'll get. And you do have to be careful with your time. It is something that can take a lot of your time, multiple hours a week, and just getting downtown, parking, attending the event, coming home. It does take a lot of my time. So I do have to be careful how I prioritize, but I do think even without really specific goals, my goal for myself was just to show up. And once I started showing up, it got easier to show up, and I'm getting to know seeing the same people over and over again is amazing. Getting to build those relationships without any, like, this is my agenda going in, just getting to know some people locally. I've made some great connections. I've had great conversations. And honestly, the biggest thing that it has done for me it's been good for my mental health. It's gotten me out of my own head, because this is being a business owner and starting a business is incredibly lonely. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very, very lonely. And this has helped get me out of my head and helped me stay on the right track. And that has been absolutely invaluable. So there's lots of free networking opportunities out there depending on where you live. I live in a small city, Madison, Wisconsin. So we do have some options here, and it's been really great to find those and start in on those. So that's where I'm at right now. This may not be the most exciting update. You probably were expecting to see me showing you my new premises. I don't have one yet. We're not there. I am doing my absolute best to roll things along as quickly as possible, but there are some things I have to wait on right now. But in the meantime, I will be sharing even the boring stuff. If you want to see the boring stuff, let me know, because that will give me the motivation to make more of these videos. If I don't get any feedback from anyone, I will just sit there in my own head wondering if I should bother making these at all, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for being here. If you were wondering about this pieced pillow, for this particular pillow, I wanted a really smooth, like pieced look. And so what I did was I took my yardage, I interfaced it. So I interfaced the yardage to a very thin interfacing. This was back when Joann's was still around, and I was able to get a bolt of interfacing, I think on Black Friday or something. And it was the really thin Pellon iron-on. And I ironed on all the interfacing to the fabric before I even cut it. Then I cut out my pieces and pieced it so that they were a little bit, not even stiff, just a little bit more, had a little bit more body to them. I pieced everything. This pattern is a Pearl Soho pattern. I believe it's a free pattern online, and I just modified it to be a pillow. I don't think they had a pillow pattern. If I remember correctly, I think I just looked at the measurements and kind of figured it out or drew it out myself. So it's just interfaced, and then I did not do any top stitching over it. It doesn't have any batting. It is just the fabric and interfacing because I wanted a really smooth look for this pillow. So that's the story on the pillow. That's the story on Goldenrod Craft Co. so far. Again, watching these videos really, really helps support my business, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for watching, and please share, like, subscribe, all the things, so that I can get this out to more people. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. See you later.